We now continue with two more best practices along another part of the value chain. From the design aspect, material innovation, we move on to new business models. Business models like Loop and Gramo were focused at consumers, which is about reusable bottles, refillable bottles. We have an example from the USA and we have an example from Chile. We'll first see two introductions and then we'll question them again. Well, first with us is Tom Tsaki from TerraCycle. And Tom is a mover and a shaker and just a new father. Tom, great to have you with us. Please tell us the story of the Loop initiative, your intentions and also your dream.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. So TerraCycle, which is the parent company for Loop, we've been around for 20 years, operating nationally in 22 countries, including the Netherlands. And as background, what we do there is focus on how do we collect and recycle hard to recycle waste streams. So for example, in Amsterdam, you would see our diaper recycling bins throughout the city. We also think about how do we integrate unique recycled content from ocean plastic to inner city plastic back into products. And this journey on creating a circular economy based on recycling and recycled content led us to create Loop, which is a platform for reuse, ideally moving from a circular economy based on recycling to a circular economy based on cleaning and refilling. And what we found is needed for the reuse movement to grow is a platform on top of which any brand can create reusable versions of their products. And today Loop has over 120 major consumer good companies from Nestle to Procter & Gamble and others participating. And then working with the retailers who then make that available to their consumers in their physical and digital stores. So today you can find Loop at physical stores at Carrefour in France or Tesco in the UK soon, Canada, US, Japan, Australia, these sort of examples. And the general approach is, how do we make reuse as convenient as possible? So a consumer can walk into their favorite store, buy their favorite product, let's say Haagen-Dazs ice cream or their laundry detergent in a reusable package, pay a deposit, and then return it to any other participating store, like perhaps a Burger King or McDonald's, who are also partners. And then our job is effectively the waste management function of reuse, where we take all of this collected durable packaging, refund deposits, sort it out, clean it at high standards, and then supply it back to brands who then refill it, allowing that journey to begin again. And I'll close on this one point, is that this may seem new, but it's in fact an old idea. It's in fact, it's how beverages in Holland used to be, or still are in some countries like Germany, or beer in Canada. But it's taking that philosophy and expanding it to any consumable product, from your shampoo to your ketchup.
Thanks, Tom. As inspiring as everything. And indeed, circular economy is not a new thing. It's something which we have reinvented in a way. The old farm was circular. Books as a service, a library. We have forgotten it, actually. So thanks, I will be back with you later. Now with us is Brian Bauer from Gramo. And that's an entrepreneur with a similar passion as Tom and a similar drive. But he's adding also new elements to a new target group. Brian, please enlighten us. And I believe we will start with a movie where you will be the voiceover.
Sure, thank you so much. So in this movie here, there's three critical elements to Gramo's distribution system. One is smart packaging, so that's packaging with RFID technology. The other is an app, which you use to coordinate a visit from the electric tricycle that brings the product to your doorstep. So you have the convenience of having your refill happen on your doorstep in Gramo's smart reusable packaging. So there's three critical elements: the packaging, the app, and the dispensers, the IoT connected dispensers on the back of the tricycle. And those three systems communicate with each other and create the Gramo distribution system.
So what makes you proud, actually, Brian?
I think what we're really proud about at Gramo is why we came into existence. And why we came into existence was to solve what we call the poverty tax. The poverty tax happens across most of the developing world. And that happens when people have limited or volatile incomes. They buy in small format packaging, and they typically buy in a place that have underfunded or overstressed waste management systems. And there's a deep nexus between that complex social problem and a complex environmental problem. The complex environmental problem being plastic leaking into the environment or places it shouldn't be. And Gramo's created a system to solve that. So our system base started 7 years ago, and we started with our own white label products. And our initial reuse rates on our packaging were pretty dismal. They were less than 10%. But over 3 or 4 years, we worked hard and got them up over 80%. And that caught the attention of the former CEO of Unilever Chile, and he came to us in 2018 and said, hey, I really like what you guys are doing. Do you think there might be a way that we could start working together? So starting in mid-2018, we started trying to kind of co-develop distribution systems using the technology that I mentioned before, the IoT connected dispensers, the packaging as a wallet with global brands. And we're now currently working with Unilever, Nestle, and Colgate, and in discussions with most other major brands.
So strategic collaboration with large retailers. Is it right that you are also expanding geographically, going to other areas of the world?
Yeah, we started a pilot in New York. We started the pilot a little bit sooner than initially planned, and we did that because we wanted to provide COVID-based products. So things like alcohol for cleaning the hands, soap, etc. So we started in New York, I believe it was in August or September of this past year. And we're currently just setting up a pilot in Jakarta. We're really excited to be in Jakarta because it's the #2 hotspot, or Indonesia is the #2 hotspot for ocean plastic leakage. And we're currently expanding into some of the key markets in LATAM. We'll be soon entering Mexico and Colombia.
So in one sentence, where do you hope to be in 5 years from now?
In 5 years from now, it would be amazing if Gramo can be a key player in helping global brands catalyze reuse systems and get us up to that 20% mark, where people believe that 20% of single-use packaging in your average grocery store can be sold through reusable packaging systems.
Wonderful, Brian. I will be back with you soon. I continue my discussion with Tom. Tom, a lot of the discussions around what needs to be done are always focusing on the government, what they need, what needs to be done by them to enable the entrepreneur. You focus on consumers, but let's say, are they so easy to get along? What's your role there? What's the role of the retailer when we talk about consumers?
It's a very good question. I think the consumer is, the most important voice here, because the consumer votes for the future they want with what they buy. Now, what is important, though, is a consumer can't vote on something if that choice isn't made available to them, and not just made available, but amplified in a way that they can find it and fall in love with it. And that really is the role of the retailer. Now, pragmatically, in a platform play like Loop, we depend on retailers to enable us to launch in countries. And they are also the ones who help encourage their major vendor partners, the manufacturers, to invest these substantial resources that are taken to enable these circular supply chains. It's the easiest thing for a brand to do is to do no change whatsoever. And so any form of change requires effort. In the case of Loop, that means developing new packaging forms, how to fill those packaging forms, and having key retailers helping to encourage and motivate the brands is really critical, especially if you're a company like Loop or Gramo, where we rely on other parties to be able to succeed, whether it's making the content or also supporting in distribution.
So you mentioned earlier convenience for consumers and now leadership by retailers. What can the government additionally do to, let's say, to close the loop for plastics?
I think the government can do three things. The easiest, by the way, is just talking about it in the media, making it a topic, a part of the national conversation, because there's so many things we care about and we only have so much mental capacity. I think making it a discussion point is very important. Then if there's more ambition by a lawmaker or a government official, I would make it more difficult to do linear systems. That could be things like banning products that are maybe dangerous. We've seen that on straws and plastic in plastic bags. It could be deposit return schemes, extended product responsibility legislation, effectively making single-use or linear systems more challenging, and then also to make circular systems easier by subsidizing them, making grants available, giving resources to entrepreneurs so that it's easier to bring about these changes. Because when we launch products, whether it's Loop or Gramo, we are directly compared against what is already out there and very financially efficient. So any help that we can get only allows this transition to occur faster.
So what's the next step for Loop, and what or who do you need for that? Where do you want to be?
Absolutely. Well, Loop has been growing incredibly quickly. We're already live in 4 countries, US, Canada, UK, France. We will be launching in Japan in a few months from now, and then end of this year in Australia. What we're really looking at as a platform is to have more brands join and more retailers, and then to help us expand into new markets around the world. Because our dream is really to create a global platform for reuse where you can buy anywhere and return anywhere.
Could a company like Vicent Campina be a partner for you?
I think everyone can be. And I think this is the exciting thing about the circular economy, is that it's very multi-stakeholder. You need to bring everyone together, and every organization can serve a very important role in stewarding such a system transformation.
Okay, that's great, Tom. Thanks for your time. And one last advice, one quote which you want to leave to the world and to the World Circular Economy Forum plus Climate.
I'll leave in one thought, which is that I believe the most important actor in all of this are us as individual consumers, because what we buy is an active vote for the future, just like what we don't buy is an active vote. So let's really take that seriously and purchase things we want to see more of and not purchase things that we don't want to see more of.
The power of one, the choices we can make individually. Thank you for being with us, Tom. And congratulations again at home.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Brian from Chile, Gramo. Where are you with us? Brian? Yes, we have Brian back. Well, you are successful in countries where waste management is still in development. What do you see as key to your success?
There, I think a really key value proposition we can bring is lowering the product costs of life essentials. So that enables people to buy the product for the fairest possible price and the exact amount they need or can afford in a sustainable manner. And that's a really critical issue. In developing countries, there's a lot of people that don't have the financial resources to buy the sustainable option, especially if the sustainable option is more expensive. And we're really proud that here in Chile, and we believe we can do this in most of the markets that we operate in, we're selling Unilever's products for about 30% cheaper than the regular price in your average supermarket.
30, I heard that right.
Yeah, 30%, 30, below the regular price in a large corporate supermarket. So that's really critical to us.
In terms of investment for you to set up this system and go buy home, can you give us a little bit more background about the innovative part here?
So yeah, we definitely, to scale fast and into as many markets as possible to essentially amplify our impact, what we need to do is have investments. So we recently closed an investment round, or Series A, and those funds are critical and absolutely essential to enable us to scale much faster and get into those new markets. So like I mentioned, and for developing markets, we're currently in the process of starting a pilot in Jakarta that will be starting in the next week or two. And we're soon this year, we're going to be starting pilots in Indonesia, or not Indonesia, pardon me, I just mentioned that, in Mexico and Colombia. So that's a really critical aspect of it.
We haven't talked about this before, but access to finance for similar initiatives, how difficult is that? What would you need there? What's on your wish list there?
Yeah, it can be challenging because there's kind of like a double gateway. There's the first gateway is kind of the standard venture capital gateway of they need to see the business model. They need to see the business model is scalable, investable, so that they get the appropriate return that they're looking for. But on top of that, when you're looking at circular economy investors, quite often there's another gateway, and that is they want to see impact and they want to verify the impact and that can be kind of complex and just add another layer of complexity to making the investment round close. And investment rounds are complex and challenging.
And how do you tackle that?
You just have to be good at telling a story, showing your impact, and clearly articulating why your system is circular and why it creates value and why it's better than business as usual. And those are the kind of the critical elements, I think, to convincing the capital funds that your system is valuable and worth supporting.
Thanks, Brian. You've just heard the words from Tom about how a regulator can help. How is that in your case? Do you have additional items to mention? Do you want to strengthen some of the points spoken out by Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Tom mentioned something that I completely agree with, and I think it's really critical. And that is that any form of subsidy can really help catalyze this reuse movement. The reuse movement is at a pretty early stage. So a little bit of catalytic capital can be very instrumental in catalyzing the reuse movement. And one thing I've become really interested in recently is looking at EPR schemes and what I call digitally verified refills. So Gramo, like Loop, is a platform technology. And with us, every refill, there's a real-time, basically, verification that refill has happened using technology. So what we have is digitally verified refill credits.
So let me extended producer responsibilities to polluter pays. Normally it's about the recycling content and collection recycling content, but you don't recycle, you actually refill.